Hello everyone, it's Thomas GGB.
Hello! Stegosaurus here.
Hey everyone! Toku Frankie here.
You're getting a webcam coast here.
But I'm here to answer Kezza's questions she gave me about Power Rangers.
I'll be real.
What do I think of
Power Rangers
Overall,
I love Power Rangers.
I've been a massive fan of Power Rangers ever since I was a kid.
I really like Power Rangers. Overall.
I was swinging around my Mega Blade at the age of 5, pretending like I was fighting monsters.
Like every 90s kid, I'm a really late 90s kid, I love Power Rangers.
I grew up with Power Rangers. I've been a fan of this series ever since Mighty Morphin. Hell, my birthday is the day after Power Rangers Day, so I feel like this franchise is a part of me in ways that a lot of other franchises simply aren't.
To me, it's always been like a comfort food, so to speak. You know, it's just always been there since I was growing up. I'm 33, 34, I don't know. I always forget because I'm old.
I think the Power Rangers is great, man. Like, not just like the show, but just as like an idea, like the lore that it has behind it and the potential that it has.
Power Rangers was and still is an important piece of media, representing a bridge between cultures and preserving a long-lasting legacy across its lifespan.
What do I think overall? I'm a fan. You know, I'm a fan of the show. I'm a fan of what it means to people, the history. I'm a fan of the legacy. I like the comic books. I like the movies, the good ones, the bad ones. Same with the seasons, the good ones, the bad ones.
I grew up with the Power Rangers movie. I grew up with Turbo, a Power Rangers movie. The very first Power Rangers season I really got into was In Space, if you really count the few VHS copies I had of the Psycho Rangers arc. But the one season I was a fan of to begin with was Wild Force and then Dino Thunder. So I've always loved Power Rangers.
Through the show, Power Rangers has inspired me to always be brave and kind, to help out others, to always do what's right, to never be afraid of adversity. I carry these lessons with me every day as an adult. This mindset has helped me a lot through my personal issues.
Overall, I find that the Power Rangers franchise is a cultural sort of phenomenon, which is known for its diversity and lasting impact on multiple generations.
Every time in my life, I'd go back and there's always a season of Power Rangers going on, you know, just something I could always just relax, shut my brain off and enjoy. And now that my daughter is getting to the age where she's starting to enjoy that, it's just kind of a bummer that it doesn't really feel like it's around anymore.
Now, I'll admit, as I've gotten older, my feelings towards Power Rangers, because when I was younger, it was like the coolest thing ever. But as I got older, I realized that love for Power Rangers and more of like love for the tokusatsu stuff in general, like the suits, the action and all that. So my love for Power Rangers, just Power Rangers, kind of waned over the years as I realized, like, wait, there's a whole world of this kind of stuff.
It's been in a very interesting spot since it first started, being this juggernaut of a franchise in the late 90s and then just slowly going down, and who knows where it's at now.
Personally, I think Power Rangers has always been a very interesting property. It's been through so many different changes over the years that it's amazing that it has lasted as long as it has. And, you know, I'm kind of at this point with everything going on between Hasbro and Netflix and all the other companies, I'm kind of starting to get used to talking about Power Rangers in the past tense, right? In terms of the show, the toy line.
I think Power Rangers is something that's been mishandled, and a lot of people have put up with it for a long time.
I feel like Power Rangers just generally has a lot of potential that maybe in the last decade, in more recent times, they don't really know that. But in the 2000s, man, excellent. Peak.
I think Power Rangers is a very important franchise. It's a very niche franchise that is ingrained in the cultural zeitgeist a lot more than people realize.
The fact that Power Rangers will make brand new stories, like as I've gone back and seen some of the Sentai and I can see how they've changed things, I think it's cool. And especially too with like some of the recent lore they've been adding in the comics and even like some of the recent adaptations. So like it's more of its own world at this point, and I feel like, oh, maybe I'll save that for later.
It's something that's a gateway for a lot of people into Toku, including myself, but that respect isn't returned to the fans. And you guys who have stuck around, a lot of you from MMPR until Cosmic Fury, I respect the hell out of you guys, because, man, you guys have been through the ringer.
But as a whole, overall, I think a lot of people can agree that Power Rangers sort of fell off, especially during the what people would consider the Neo Saban era, right?
It gets overlooked quite massively, and I can't really blame the people who do overlook it.
I personally see Power Rangers as a franchise that has a lot of potential, but is stuck in this almost sort of limbo because of the franchise that it is from these past 30 years. Like, it is a one-of-a-kind type of franchise.
I grew up with Power Rangers, and I think I'll always have a special place in my heart for it, even if I don't always love what they do with the franchise, in the TV series to be specific.
Personally, for me, I tend to enjoy what little Sentai I've seen a little bit more, but I also don't think Power Rangers is necessarily for me anymore. It just doesn't click like it used to.
There's more hits than misses, and of course Power Rangers is how I even got into tokusatsu in the first place, so of course I'm gonna like it overall.
You have elements from a Japanese series filmed through a Japanese style and medium in America for about 30 years straight, and now it's stuck trying to figure out what's the best route for it to take.
When I was growing up, I watched MMPR, I watched Power Rangers all the way through until Lost Galaxy. Fell off for a little bit, and then I kind of came back around for Dino Thunder and SPD and all that kind of stuff. The Disney era, if you will. And it's different now.
It is a property that is often treated with uncertainty and at times disdain. Unlike its Japanese counterpart, I think that Power Rangers has only very rarely had the opportunity to truly flourish, being tied down by the double-edged swords of nostalgia pandering and profit margins.
I think a lot of what we knew as Power Rangers, a lot of the soul that most of us saw, kind of got lost as the years went by, and I can't fully say I love Power Rangers as it is, if that makes sense.
I think it has a reputation for being terrible and campy, and it is, but I think the big focus is on it being terrible when I don't think it's terrible. It's definitely campy, and a lot of that camp is where I kind of fall off personally, but it doesn't make it bad. Yes, there is bad seasons, yes, there's bad episodes, but I mean, there's bad seasons of Sentai, there's bad seasons of Kamen Rider, there's bad seasons of any show you watch outside of Toku, inside of Toku, anything like that.
Even if I don't love everything that they do with the show, I still love this franchise.
Again, times have changed, but I still think there's definitely a place for live action, superhero-esque Power Ranger show, especially one that teaches like good morals and stuff like that.
Just Power Rangers as an idea, as a thing, I think is incredible, and there's so much potential to go even further than it ever has. I just think it doesn't get the recognition it deserves.
It's interesting, weird, all synonyms that go along with that overall. But hey, as if it has Power Rangers on it, I'll most likely read it or watch it. That's how much I like Power Rangers as a whole.
The brand is still here. We're getting video games and comics and such like that. And I think Power Rangers has definitely proven that by pure accident or coincidence or determination or just sheer luck most of the time, this franchise, there's something here. And the fact that it has been here this long, it's going to come back. It's going to continue. I don't think you can get rid of this franchise, and if we could have, I think it would have happened a very, very long time ago.
It's cool, it's fun, it's camp, it's nice to watch, it's comforting. It's a nice comfort watch, and the reason why I still watch it today, because it's always comforting to me too, even though they're fighting people.
Through this fandom, I couldn't be more grateful to meet people who have the same mindset as me, to grow and to learn from each other. It has helped me create lasting relationships that has helped me become a better person.
It is a property that has inspired generations by being a cultural icon, and that is an indisputable part of its value and its impact.
It's like a big hug in the form of a final slash. Is that all I gotta say? I don't really know what else. It's kind of an ambiguous question. What do you think of
Power Rangers recently?
Everything that's happened with
Netflix and Hasbro.
Okay. Now this one's a specific one.
The only other word I can think of between Netflix and Hasbro is concerning.
That's a perfect example of what I'm talking about, of how it's not shown with the respect the fans deserve.
So I have a very personal perspective on kind of the current state of the franchise and the brand as a whole, because, you know, my YouTube channel is primarily about Power Rangers.
I've been very disappointed with the news.
And with the end of the Lightning collection, which was something that I broke the news for, it kind of took the carpet out from under me, right? Took the floor out from under me. So I've had a very personal investment in sort of the current situation for the brand, and I don't think it's good.
There's no sugarcoating it. The Power Rangers franchise is going to be going through significant challenges.
What do I think? I think Power Rangers as a brand is flopping.
I can't say I'm entirely surprised.
It's flopping really bad.
I think a lot of people were just like, I saw that coming, but I did not see that coming.
I think it's kind of gone downhill.
I don't know, kind of embarrassing.
I thought they were hard at work, working on some stuff behind the scenes for us, so I was really disappointed.
The show, for instance, has gone on hiatus, and Netflix has recently dropped their plans with a new movie, indicating a lack of development.
I kind of see it as this poor creature that nobody knows what to do with this franchise.
It's concerning what Netflix and Hasbro are doing to not have projects move forward. And according to certain leaks, it happens to be on Hasbro's side to really push a certain theme and show forward, while Netflix doesn't want to go through with that.
My main takeaway from what's going on with Power Rangers recently is that there's just very poor leadership involved in the television side of the franchise, well, the live action side of the franchise, I should say.
Power Rangers is in a difficult place right now. I don't know the specific logistics, but as a fan who has been actively participating with the show, toys, and news for the last decade, I can say with almost certainty that it's struggling to stay relevant.
I get the feeling that any company that wants to handle Power Rangers in today's landscape doesn't really know how, and truly may not even want to in their heart of hearts.
I think the dead end Netflix reboot is a bit of a shame. I was definitely excited for that.
First off, that season just feeling it was an afterthought to just get something out.
When you think of Power Rangers recently, the Boom Studios comic book has been producing some of the best Power Ranger stories ever in the history of the franchise. But with the live action side of things, I just think it's an absolute mess.
I know Hasbro can make good franchises. I've been a Transformers fan my whole life. And Transformers is still going. I'm still buying Transformers. People are still buying Transformers. And it started as a weird kids brand in the 80s with Japanese imported toys.
So it's a bit concerning that these two big companies, franchise, whatever you want to call them, that they're fighting over this one IP, which should be relatively easy to put together. And I'm saying that as a casual viewer, but
for the most part, I think the TV show is really entertaining. But unfortunately, outside the fandom, I don't think that's the case. General audiences are not connecting as well as we are.
The companies don't know what to do with it. I don't think they really understand the origins, what it means, the genre.
With the Super Sentai footage already done, and then Hasbro wanting to make everything all original, even though the Power Rangers always at its core has to do with the Super Sentai footage and working around that and its tokusatsu roots, while Hasbro wants to push in a new direction. While it can be a good thing, as it is, it's been very messing and again concerning.
I don't really think Hasbro knows what they want to do with the franchise. They're kind of in a tailspin creatively. They never really wanted Power Rangers. The person who bought Power Rangers for Hasbro is no longer with us. So now that they have it and it costs them a ton of money, all they care about is getting as much return on investment as possible.
I think the general impression that a lot of people still have is that Power Rangers is wholly represented by its 90s identity, and that's the only way it can be successful in this era of adaptations and reboots.
They think Power Rangers could be just any superhero, Marvel, DC. They see it as like, oh, it can compete, it can be on level with these things. When I don't really think Power Rangers is on level to these comic book heroes that America has.
That in itself is a gamble, but another bigger gamble is just letting it breathe and be the property that it's meant to be, which I don't think any brand is going to have enough confidence in to do.
I mean, the last couple of things we got from the show, Dino Fury, Cosmic Fury, Once and Always, at least the creatives behind it attempted to try new things. And when I say that, I mean it's because they wanted to do more with the franchise, but Hasbro really tied their hands in a lot of ways, trying to stay focused on the child fan base that everyone thinks this series is catering to, and of course trying to sell as much toys as possible that never even came to fruition.
So they can do, like, granted they're two different franchises, but like they know how to make a toy franchise.
I'm not happy about it at all. I think it could have been easily avoided. I think that there were a lot of decisions that were made that were just the wrong decisions, or were ill-informed, or had to be made for different factors that we either are or aren't privy to and may never be.
And I think it's just because of the format. It's tokusatsu, it's different, live action special effects. It's not going to beat the horrible CGI that you saw in the Flash movie, or the horrible CGI you saw in the Flash show.
This may be why Hasbro is straining to come up with new ideas that isn't the same MMPR formula from 30 years ago.
So it's kind of its own separate thing, and I feel like Hasbro doesn't really know what they want to do with Power Rangers yet, even still 6 years in. Will they ever know what they want to do? I don't think so, if they're giving it to different companies to say, here, take a try at it, take a whiff at it.
You know, Hasbro just kept mistreating it in some sort of way throughout the past, 5 years that it's owned it now, deteriorating the work that will be put in with the TV show while also compromising with Netflix on what to do, to the point of just having it just be an afterthought, even with its merchandise.
From my understanding, some stuff came out that Hasbro really wasn't into buying the franchise that much, and it was kind of a rushed deal and kind of focused more on the toys and didn't necessarily plan for the shows. And that's crazy to me.
At the end of the day, I'm more worried about what's going to happen to Power Rangers under Hasbro. I thought Power Rangers would be thriving under Hasbro. Hasbro has Transformers, G.I. Joe, My Little Pony on its side. So you would think they know how to handle generations old IP at an action franchise for young children. You'd think they know how to handle that, but it's worrying that Hasbro doesn't seem to know how to handle that.
It's almost sad to see how it's handled like this, and we're always going to see it as everyone or a certain person doesn't care about the franchise or doesn't know what to do about the franchise, and in this case it ended up being true.
And Netflix, I mean, Netflix will do anything. I don't think Netflix really cares creatively wise. They just want stuff on their platform. So
I definitely think the Netflix partnership doubled down on pretty much killing the show for right now.
I think my expectations were that they were really rebooting this guy, and I think under the Netflix umbrella there could have been some cool promise there.
Because Netflix does that. The way that they release shows is not great.
Finding it to Netflix might have been a bad idea, because of course you need to have Netflix to be able to see it. Maybe now that it's opened back up, there's more potential for it to go further. But yeah, it was a bit of a bummer. I was really looking forward to seeing what was going to come of that.
I was thinking like One Piece or like Avatar: The Last Airbender. Like, I'm thinking maybe we could have had like a bigger budget. It could have been very cool. But alas, that is not the case.
Additionally, there's been a noticeable decline in the quality of Power Rangers toys, with many fans disappointed by the lack of merchandise for Cosmic Fury, despite the suit designs being made to be toy friendly.
The actor strike and pandemic did not help with sales either. So in my opinion, I'm really not surprised that Hasbro cut off their deal with Netflix. Netflix saw that Power Rangers is a sinking ship and they backed out before they could drown with them.
Ultimately, that means cutting their losses, stopping things in their tracks, and bringing everything that doesn't exploit the 90s era to a close.
And now it's pretty much hiatus, forgotten, pushed along to Playmates, and we'll see what happens.
So it's very apparent, and as we've been hearing from stuff since other stuff has happened, like, they just clearly did not care. So I just feel kind of, I don't even know what I'd say I feel, but I just kind of watch this all and I'm like, okay, guys, like that's what we're gonna do.
Ryu Soldier is one of the most beloved Sentai seasons ever. They could have done the same, and they had the pieces there to make it great. I watched some of Dino Fury. It was the first Power Rangers I've watched in a long time.
I don't hate the helmets. They're lazy, but I don't hate them. They're okay. To be like a second season to something, you know, it makes sense. Kind of like how MMPR got the White Ranger and all that. I get it. It makes sense. It's fair.
And it just didn't quite get there. And then a second season dropped, and I still didn't catch up from the first one. So it's just, the release schedule is daunting when you're not in. It's a lot. It's overwhelming to say the least.
It just really showed they weren't willing to take a chance on something original. I think that's the problem with Hasbro. They bought Power Rangers and then they just didn't want it, and it shows.
American-made Power Ranger stuff, original stuff, not tied to the Sentai, like the Titanium Ranger, suits like that, just the quality's not there. As much as we try to stay with the hopium, there's a reason a lot of people even now don't stick with Power Rangers, I think. Don't find an interest in it. There's just something off whenever you look at what's going on with the way Netflix handled it.
I feel like Power Rangers needs a new home, creatively speaking. And platform-wise, Netflix is still good. I mean, it's a great platform to reach people. A lot of people still have Netflix despite them, you know, locking up password sharing and such.
I hope that they eventually find a home for the Power Rangers IP for this medium. Like, I need to be able to watch a Power Ranger show. Whether that's on Prime. Hello, Prime. Because, I mean, I would take something under, like, Gen V / The Boys-esque with Power Rangers. I know a lot of people don't want the mature Power Rangers, but I would take that if that is what the IP needs. I think we need a big old refresh.
Maybe it's for the best, but we'll see. It definitely seems like Hasbro has a plan of what they want to do, regardless of where it goes to.
But at the same time, like as I mentioned earlier, since my love for Power Rangers kind of did dwindle over the years, I don't feel like a huge loss for me personally. Like Power Rangers wasn't a huge part of my life, but knowing that like there's no new season I can show my cousin or something, because I'm not gonna show him Sentai until he can read a little better. So, you know, it is a little bit disappointing.
It's a huge bummer. I think Netflix was a nice place for Power Rangers. We got a lot of great things out of it. The Once and Always was really good. I liked Cosmic Fury, at least the story and all that. It was okay. It was a nice little cherry on top of a long arc, you know, continuity and all that, but
it's a darn shame, but maybe it is a blessing in disguise. Maybe this means we wait for someone who truly understands and deeply loves the brand, not just for its past, but for its potential to be relevant and more in the future.
I hate to see it go. I really do.
I hope that they find a right home for this IP, because I think we could do a lot of cool stuff, and there's a lot of messages that I think are left to be told. There are voices that are left to be told, I think.
But I think at the current point we're at, completely avoidable. But we're here, so now we kind of just have to deal with it.
Question 3.
What do we think
is the next step for
Power Rangers?
The next step for Power Rangers, I don't really know.
I have no idea, because now they canceled the reboot, so like we don't even know. We have no idea what's happening.
I've said this before, but the next best step for Power Rangers would easily be...
The next step for Power Rangers would have to be...
to just take a break.
I mean, there's only one next step for Power Rangers, and a lot of people aren't going to like it, and that's change. We have to change, we have to evolve.
As frustrating as it may be, I think it needs to be sold to a different party again.
I mean, if I was in charge...
I think I know what I want it to be. I want the next step for Power Rangers to just be more of the same. But as Power Rangers has shown over the years, that just kind of can't work.
At this stage, I don't think they're very interested, nor they are very keen continuing with Power Rangers.
But Hasbro should learn how to take care of this IP. If they have all these other like franchises and beloved characters under their belts and they don't know how to handle Power Rangers, what would be the next step than to try to understand what Power Rangers is in the first place?
Given that Power Rangers is in the state where it is right now, the only thing I can see it doing going forward is at least trying to reach into those old roots.
If you really think about it, Power Rangers has had a fantastic run. No other franchise in television or probably movie history has done the same thing for 30 seasons without changing or adapting at all. I mean, hell, even Pokemon. Look at Ash Ketchum. He finally became a Pokemon master. They got rid of him. Things changed. Things evolved, and now they're doing something different because they have to. When you keep doing the same thing over and over and over and over again, especially with niche franchises, you're going to lose people over the course of time. And if you can't pick up new fans or gain interest from the general public, your franchise is not going to last.
This needs to be handled by people who love Toku and Power Rangers and just want to make something good. And it needs to be bought by a company that will let those people do it.
Try to treat it seriously like they used to. And I don't mean like make it gritty and dark, because treating it seriously just means really taking the material you have and making good stories, and making your own fight scenes, making making stuff for yourself and adapting instead of just taking the footage.
Like, unironically, they kind of had a cool, good thing going with Cosmic Fury. Like, it was more of their own show.
I might be going a bit off topic here, but getting away from the Tokusatsu roots, getting away from the Sentai footage, getting away from all that, it doesn't seem like a good idea. Like, it can work under the right writer and the right director, producer, head, under the right people. An original Power Rangers show could work. It's been working for the comics, but as like a live action TV show that has to have all these elements and things put together, like Frankenstein together, just to make a show in the first place, and it might even end up messier than we believe it would be, like RPM and Samurai and pretty much every Power Rangers season that just changes drastically halfway through or barely changes anything from the Sentai at all. A lot of these elements have to be put together in the right way to even make something in the first place, and it might not even work. So if Hasbro tries to get away from what Power Rangers is in the first place, then it's a big gamble to see if taking a risk with Power Rangers would even be worth it.
I have two answers. The first answer is what I know is going to happen, which is that Playmates and whoever else will continue to shovel out MMPR toys and memorabilia, further solidifying that era as Power Rangers' only relevant era. I think there's no escaping that, so for my second answer, which is what I'd like to happen, I'd like for these companies to start branching outside of MMPR for a change.
Great, we have to over-rely on Mighty Morphin right now for nostalgia purposes, and I think that things like the comics have been able to show us that we can use Mighty Morphin in a fresh, new way that can connect to the other seasons. I just want more things with the other seasons, basically.
For a property with such deep reliance on nostalgia, there's way more content to be tapped into than what already has been. So even if it starts out as toys or statues or whatever, if we can give every part of Power Rangers' legacy its due love and care, I think the message will spread that Power Rangers is more than just a time capsule and is capable of breaking out of this restrictive market that it's only being allowed to play in.
I think we need to lose the straight up adaptations and new teams every season, because I think we as fans have evolved past that. Look at the Power Rangers fandom. We're not little kids anymore, and they're having a hard time bringing in new children fans to this series. So the main fans of this series are teenagers and adults who grew up with Mighty Morphin, In Space, Turbo, Zeo, and, then the Samurai group, the Neo Saban Eric teens, who are really nostalgic for that era. You don't really have a huge child fan base, and if you do, you can really rope them in with anything. You don't need to follow the same formula over and over again.
For me, honestly, I think the next step for Power Rangers, it could go in a few different directions. Now, I'm a big fan of the idea of doing it animated.
I think ideally some animated show, I feel like that would be a great next step forward, because I feel like, if live action, you're kind of stuck visually speaking, but I feel like with animation and Power Rangers, I feel like that could go hand in hand.
Now, I'm the type of person that I'm ride or die with this franchise now. If there's a live action TV show, movie, a new reboot, whatever, I'll love it. But I think, even though I prefer live action TV, animation is the way to be going with this.
They could do so much amazing stuff. They could honor Tokusatsu in a way, in animation form, which I think would be really nice.
Think about how many limitations we've had with the show. Oh, we can't do this because of budget, or we couldn't build this prop, we couldn't do this or this or this. Animation, you can do anything with it, right? And yeah, I understand that still costs money, but think of all the comic stories we've had, the incredible comic line stories. We've had incredible stories within the show sprinkled throughout that kind of ties the lore together. Put all of the good stuff of Power Rangers into an animated show, sort of like Voltron Legendary Defender, right? I think that'd be insane. I think you get such good stuff. And it doesn't have, I know a lot of people say, oh, just animate Shattered Grid or animate this or this. It can be original. It doesn't have to be Mighty Morphin, but I think that is a sort of more mature Voltron, Teen Titans style TV show is I think where the franchise needs to go.
I wouldn't love to see Power Rangers go animated. I wouldn't mind it. I would watch it. I feel like that would also establish Power Rangers a bit more as its own thing, but then it's not Toku anymore, really. Like it would be Toku inspired, like the Gridman anime and stuff like that, but it would technically not be Toku, it would technically not be what Power Rangers was built on. So I think it's a bit of a slippery slope, because it seems like, at least in America, like Toku content isn't entirely that big if it's American made. I don't know. This is why I'm not in charge of this, because I don't even know what to do. It's a good thing I'm not in charge of anything.
Power Rangers needs to find a way to evolve while keeping the spirit and the essence of Power Rangers.
I know there's a stigma of oh, Power Rangers just chops up Sentai footage, but they did more than just chop up Sentai footage. You can do more with it. It's just all these weird decisions they were making with the stories that is the reason why it fell off.
For the live action show, I honestly have no clue. I think they're cooked. I think we'll probably have some reboot show that would be of varying quality.
Speaking of the show, I actually believe that keeping the Sentai adaptations with creative writers could greatly benefit the TV series while also appealing to older and younger fans alike. Seasons like King Oger, Kira Major, and even Dawn Brothers would be really fun if done correctly.
Rangers with crystal powers? I suppose it could be a thing.
Personally, I think it'd be best just go back and start adapting Sentai again. It's cheap, which Hasbro is very cheap. If you ever collected Marvel Legends or anything, they'll get their monies out of an action figure buck till the end of the day. There's still ones using the Bucky cap buck that's been around for 12 years now. They will get their money's worth out of it. So using already shot footage, I think, makes sense, and maybe they can borrow the suits from Toei and all that. I don't know. Just save money. Don't have to pay money to come up with new designs, everything, or half-made designs like Cosmic Fury. I just feel like there's a reason why that worked.
What really matters at the end of the day to a company like Hasbro is money. And if Power Rangers, despite being a big success and hit through Netflix or whatever TV medium they go through, if that becomes a big hit, what matters more to them is their money. And the TV show itself would not generate that money unless they had the toys to go through. And that is a whole other worry when Hasbro quote-unquote made the suits for Cosmic Fury to make toys and they don't have toys. You see what I'm getting at?
I mean, I thought Cosmic Fury was better than both seasons of Dino Fury because it was their own show. They had their own, I mean, the suit thing doesn't matter, but they had their own storyline. They did a good job with their own storyline. They were able to use their own footage and stuff. And then when they needed Sentai footage, they dropped in Megazord footage, and they're still using Sentai aesthetics. So I feel like that kind of style would be good going forward. If you want to do, they would still be doing adaptations, I guess, but they would just be doing their own thing. Grab all the King Goger suits, film your, all new footage with the suits, use the Megazord footage if you need to, but, the story would be completely original. And I feel like that was a good, they did a good thing with that in Cosmic Fury, and it would be cool to do that going forward because it does kind of establish their own kind of Power Rangers brand. Especially too, because again, in the comics, they have like all these new suits, all these new lore.
Hasbro just needs to fund the right team who is passionate and creative enough to take risks.
I mentioned before how letting actors act and creative individuals be creative is very, very important. And it still carries now, especially now, knowing that we don't know if we're getting another season or a reboot or anything. It needs, if there is a reboot of some kind, it needs to be done by people who care.
I'm very unsure about the future. What I want from the future, you know, I would still want a cool classic tokusatsu show, but I'm also down, you know, for the more adult-ish, teenager-ish, looking towards Power Rangers, level it up a little bit when it comes to the age group.
So what I think Power Rangers needs to do is we need to evolve, and we need to start catering to a older audience or a more family-friendly audience, a show that the entire family can watch. Look at, for example, Cobra Kai. I've always said this. Power Rangers needs to, if you really want a Power Rangers series that's very reminiscent of what came before, while evolving to cater to the new, basically, standards of TV, you look at what Cobra Kai did, and they created a show based off of a very nostalgic franchise, The Karate Kid, and they introduced a new cast of characters that people fell in love with and wanted to follow for seasons and seasons beyond that. But meanwhile, the tone is both campy yet serious, and it balances both of those extremely perfectly, and I think that's what we need for Power Rangers.
Make it so like the Power Rangers isn't just a kid's show, like you can watch it with your family and your loved ones, and you know, it could just be a fun action show. I'll rock with it.
And of course, that's not the only option. There are many other options. You could have a more serious series, but I think what fans are really dying for is more interconnected stories. We don't want basically filler episode after filler episode, or monster of the week after monster of the week. Yes, while that's working extremely well for Sentai, I mean, there are even times in Sentai history where viewership has dipped, and viewership is pretty low now, because we as a TV watching audience have evolved also. We want more solid storytelling. We want more interconnectivity. We want season-long stories. We want characters that we can follow for years. Teams of Rangers that are there for more than, 20 episodes that we can follow and watch evolve over the course of 4 or 5 years. And if we're going to keep doing televised series, that's the way to go.
When it comes to a reboot itself, I don't think we necessarily need to go straight to Mighty Morphin again. I think we can kind of adapt a new team. Honestly, an original team would be really, really cool, but I understand the use of the footage, save some money, things like that. But an original team, something like Cosmic Fury, maybe original suits, mixed with some other stuff, I think that would be way more interesting. And they had nuggets of good things in there. And we just need to, again, get people that are good at taking nuggets and polishing them and making them nice and pretty and go, here, please make a good thing again. For the love of God, please. And yeah, it needs to be in the hands of someone who cares.
But if we want to do movies, we have to do something that just is good. We need people involved in this franchise who are willing to create something they're passionate about and something that the fans can get behind. And I don't think we ever really got that. Even with the 2017 movie, while I think it is fantastic and the casting is great, I don't think they really understood Power Rangers as well as they should have in terms of creating a Power Rangers movie. Like, while that movie is great, it's not the most Power Ranger movie there is. And I think the best showing of that is the fact that we barely got the Power Rangers in that movie.
But that's me being positive and being realistic about what I want from it. At this point, they're better off making original stories like they are in the comics, but I don't know how far they'll go with that.
It could be video games, it could be animation, even though I think that kind of makes it lose the spirit of tokusatsu. It can be live action, it can be movies, it can be books, it can be so many different forms and avenues of getting the media and the stories out there.
More comics, more video games. I want a video game where you have all the Power Rangers, and it's like Legacy Wars and Battle for the Grid, but it's like every Power Ranger ever. And their opening animation would be them morphing. That's a pipe dream.
there. We've seen things like Hyperforce. We've seen things like video games like Battle for the Grid and Legacy Wars. I think those are the things the brand needs to do more of, and the things that have brought in more seasons other than just Mighty Morphin and whatever is currently airing at the time have really been able to do something like really cool for both fans and for casual fans who don't know that the show continued past like 1996 or something like that. So I think the brand needs to just sort of diversify, but also you can keep using the same olds, you know, the things that work, the old reliables, but just change them up a little bit.
Playmates now has the licensing to create Power Ranger toys, so my hope is that they will maintain a consistent quality while also being reasonable with their prices. I also hope that they release their toys in a reasonable manner, since nobody wants to buy a Gold Ranger Morpher that was cheaply made a whole year after it debuted in the show.
But as I said, I'm here for it no matter what.
I hope whatever reason we didn't move forward with Netflix, we learn from that, and hopefully we can do better with the next home that we find, because I do wholeheartedly believe that there's good storytelling left to be told with the Power Rangers IP. I keep saying IP.
What do we do now as a fan base?
What do we do now as a fan base?
What do we do now as a fan base?
What do we do now as a fan base?
What do we do as a fan base now?
What do we as fans do now? That is a great question.
This one's probably gonna ruffle some feathers or hurt some feelings, which honestly I don't really care.
Well, okay, how do I answer this one?
I don't want to sound mean, Kezza. What do we do now as a fan base? Like, what can we do?
So as a fan base right now, I think what we have to do is just reflect. I think that the entire fandom as a whole needs to do a lot of reflection. I've been doing a lot of personal reflection, and it's been very hard trying to continue to be positive about everything going on with the brand.
As a fan base, I think that all depends on how far we are invested in just Power Rangers.
And I think as a fandom, we all kind of could use a really good opportunity to sort of just reevaluate what our position is with this brand. Are we happy? Do we like this? Do we want to keep being a fan of this? Do we like the people we interact with all the arguments that happen in the drama and such? Like, is that something that is good for you to be a part of? Is it something that's bad for you to be a part of?
I feel that the biggest conflict right now is that a lot of us, especially Toku fans, are not necessarily just fans of Power Rangers. There's a reason a lot of us ended up going to Kamen Rider and Sentai, again, the source material. I don't have as much dependence on Power Rangers as a brand anymore. As much as I love it because of what it is for my childhood, I still have to recognize that I'm not gonna get what I wanted from what brought me into the world Toku in the first place. I'm being positive and maybe saying that that might happen, but I just, in my experience, haven't seen that to be the case. And until I see that to be the case, I just have to wait and see.
Honestly, I think since we don't know the future of Power Rangers, we need to take it into our own hands.
All we can do now is just embrace what we had.
At most, we could vote with our wallets and not buy the MMPR toys, but also look where that possibly took us with no show and no other toys to buy, really. So what do we do now? We just enjoy what we have. We hope that Power Rangers comes back in a big way.
It's funny because I make a lot of Kamen Rider content. I'm like a Kamen Rider guy. So I rarely make Power Rangers content. I don't know what we should do.
The main thing is don't panic. It's okay that we are in a hiatus. It's perfectly normal for major franchises to take a break to kind of reevaluate and reintroduce their brand to a new audience. Look at Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles started off as a comic book phenomenon that has evolved and changed so much over the years. Look at the original Peter Laird, Kevin Eastman, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle comic books, and now look at the most recent incarnation, Mutant Mayhem, and see how vastly different they are. But they're speaking to a new generation of children, which I think is really fascinating and such a smart way to handle these characters. We as Power Rangers fans have to be open to change and have to be open to the evolution of this brand, or else it's never going to survive.
I think it is important still that the Power Ranger fan base is still tapped in with the culture, still tapped in with Power Rangers and Sentai and Kamen Rider and whatever makes Tokusatsu important and special. and just keep watching these shows, keep talking about it, keep giving them love. We have 30 years of the show to talk about.
Just watch the Power Rangers seasons you like. I mean,
As a fan base, we need to use our voices to keep the brand relevant.
there's still 30 seasons worth of Power Rangers to go back and watch, make theories, make videos on.
As a fan base, I think we need to buy the comics. I think we need to play the games. We need to rewatch all the old episodes on YouTube.
The comics, as read the comics for sure, because the comics are good. I'm a little hypocritical saying that because I stopped reading.
Watch the fan films, go to cons, meet the actors, do whatever we can to show the world that this show is great and still relevant.
I think we still have like little like droplets that we can kind of work with, so it's not like we are just getting absolutely nothing. That video game that's coming out for Mighty Morphin, it's Mighty Morphin, but it looks really cool. Like I'm actually pretty excited for Rita's Rewind. So
I think at this stage, as a fandom, we should support what the brand has for us at this moment. So that could be the upcoming video games, for instance. We could also bring attention to Power Rangers on social media.
And build a community around that. You know, we have Power Morphicon coming up, Morphinomenal Expo, Ranger Station, Ranger Stop and Pop. You know, we have these little conventions that are Ranger oriented. We get all the old actors and everything, and I feel like there definitely 100% is a community around that. Like everybody at least has heard us, everybody else in the community knows them. You know, stuff like that. You got cosplay, you got people doing original stories, people actually making shows, stuff like that. And that's what I think keeps the spirit of Power Rangers alive, if anything. I know a lot of my love is with the Sentai and all that, but I wouldn't be here without Power Rangers. That's the honest truth.
Be open-minded and be patient, because we're not going to get something immediately. At all. That's the biggest reason why we need to be patient. Power Rangers, as unique as it is made and distributed for and in a country that views Tokusatsu completely different from Japan. I mean, it's kind of like Kezza said before. America doesn't necessarily see Tokusatsu the way Japan does. It treats this as this unserious thing that lacks the depth or value that it realistically does, just because it doesn't portray it in the type of realism that most things in American movies and TV shows do. Because of that, it's gonna have to branch out in certain ways that you might not like. Might be something completely different that we are not used to, which is why we need to be open-minded with that. We gotta be realistic as well, because Mighty Morphin is gonna have some type of major factor in all this. And granted, I understand we have all grown fatigued or irritated or impatient about Mighty Morphin stuff. Like, regardless of what everything behind me looks like, none of us want to see purely Mighty Morphin stuff. But these other seasons that we personally know are as great as they are, they're not going to as easily garner attraction as Mighty Morphin does.
For any franchise, the fans are an incredibly strong driving force behind its life and its relevance, and I can firmly say that there's no fandom like the Power Rangers fandom. Sure, it may be divided between those who value its nostalgia and wish to utilize it further, and those who are proponents of change and wish to see it grow. But at its core, we all just really love our colorful heroes that we enjoyed during some critical moments in our lives. So as long as we maintain and vocalize our love and continue to show these brands and companies that there is still a strong and passionate fan base to support it, it will hopefully instill them with the confidence to put the money in the right place and make Power Rangers soar.
Keep talking about it. Show whoever is in charge, show the suits, whoever, that there's still an interest for it, that we care, we are here.
Create your own Power Rangers media, whether it's videos, whether it's shorts, whether it's henshins, whether it's toy reviews. Create your own media.
Make content, talk about Power Rangers, and hopefully not in the way of, remember Power Rangers, that was such a great thing in the past that is no longer happening. We just enjoy what we have.
Talk about it. Do your YouTube videos, do your drawings, do your cosplays. Keep showing love for the Power Rangers. Show these darn companies who don't know what to do with it and just want money that, hey, there's some love to these shows.
Make sure they know people care about Power Rangers, because I think that's the only way is going to click with these dinosaur-brained bigwigs.
Fans need to be open and honest about their opinions so that Hasbro or whoever owns the brand could understand and learn how we feel to create better products.
If they see this stuff, they're gonna want to put money towards it.
Most importantly, we also need to advocate what we love about the brand so that generations after us can enjoy it just as much as we did.
I think the fan base could do a lot of really cool stuff with fan-made projects. Take the ideas that they plant, kind of like Power Rangers Unworthy, and just do your own spin on it. Make your own Power Rangers, because that's how this stuff stays alive when there's the dark ages, like it seems like we're in now.
Tweet, post stuff, make content about it, and watch Super Sentai. Like, I was never a Super Sentai fan, I never really watched it, and now weekly I'm watching Bunja, and I love it. Think about how many times Power Rangers has randomly been trending because like one big influencer has gone, the 2017 movie should have got a sequel, that was quite good, let's keep doing that, because the more we do that and the more we show how big of a fan base there is and how much love there is for this franchise, the more we're going to get stuff.
Part of me feels like maybe we didn't get the Netflix reboot because maybe they believe it's a dead brand. Maybe they believe we shouldn't be here. But I wholeheartedly believe in Power Rangers, and I hope and believe you guys are also there. Regardless of the ups and downs that we've had with this franchise, I really hope that everybody continues talking about it so that we can just prove that, hello, we want more because we love it. I mean, why are we still here, right?
Let's not make Mighty Morphin a nostalgia brand. We could make a nostalgia brand, but not for Mighty Morphin. Let's make a nostalgia brand for every other show.
Allegedly, Hasbro is looking for a new buyer for the Power Rangers franchise, so let's hope that whoever buys the franchise does a good job with it and does not neglect it like a forgotten child, the same way Hasbro does.
The best thing to do now is just to keep loving the show. Keep watching the show on YouTube, watching reruns on Netflix, watching and supporting your favorite Power Ranger content creators. Because if you keep showing that there is interest in this franchise, then reviving it will become easier and easier for whoever Hasbro decides to partner with in order to bring the show back. So just stay positive, keep going, and listen, no matter what happens next, the original series is always going to be there. They can never take that away from us. So if you love it, it's okay to still love it. It's still there.
I think whether you're a Toku fan, a Kamen Rider fan, Ultra fan, Tokusatsu, Power Rangers has a place in Toku. It's an international thing, so I believe Power Rangers should continue on in one form or another. Is that animation? Maybe. But I think live action should stay alive one way or another. Whether if it's just movies, a limited TV series, or something bigger. I don't know. But don't stop talking about Power Rangers. Maybe something will come out of it.
And of course, if you still want your Tokusatsu fix, you got Sentai. That's very similarly the thing. That was the way to say it. And then Kamen Rider, of course. Kamen Rider has always been... I've always had more fun being a fan of Kamen Rider, but I've enjoyed Power Rangers as a franchise more, if that makes sense. But I think as a fan base, we just have a unique opportunity here that we should really try to take advantage of and get the most out of it. So when the brand does come back, if it comes back, we can support it a lot more united, a lot more positively. We can welcome new fans in more than we really have been able to in the past, and I think there's just a lot of growth that can happen and really probably should.
If you really loved Power Rangers, you kind of just had to go back and rediscover what you loved about it with some of the older shows.
With all the knowledge that is out about how this franchise has been handled for the past 5 years, I personally am just not trying to expect anything specific. I just want something, and I just want that something to be good.
Everybody has their own Power Rangers team. Everybody has their own favorite. Everybody has their favorite Ranger. And I feel like there's so much that they could tap into that us as a fan base, we just got to keep the love going, keep the word blowing, no colored explosions, and just keep showing the show love as we've always had for 30 years.
The main thing that Power Ranger fans need to do now is they need to stay positive, because this is not the end, guys. This is just a new beginning.
I'm glad that at this age I can still enjoy it with other people, enjoy it with my children. It's just something that hopefully keeps sticking around. Maybe not with Hasbro or anything, but as long as the community's still there and we still bring it all together and come together to enjoy what we love, that's the best we can do.
I think as a fan base right now, we kind of just have a really unique opportunity where we can really, for truly the first time, I mean, Power Rangers has been canceled, like 5 times, but we never really had much of a gap year besides 2010, and even that doesn't really like fully count. Like, this is like a pretty big gap year. So I think we can really just sort of take some time to reevaluate how we feel about this franchise and what we want it to be going forward.
I'm really bad with talking about Power Rangers, and I'm very scared to talk in the community about stuff. I don't feel seen in the Power Rangers community specifically, so I rarely like make content or share my piece. But I do love Power Rangers, and I hope that videos like this and other types of content will continue, because I mean, we're here for a reason, right?
Don't stop tweeting. Don't stop posting that story. Don't stop telling YouTube how you feel about that comic. Be honest. You are only one. You're our only hope.
I would love to jump back into Power Rangers. I would love an excuse to watch the old seasons again, and I do watch random episodes here or there, but I just want a reason to jump back in.
Let's keep going.
Hope that works.
It's also important to advocate what is important. Yeah.
Sorry if that was a downer, but thanks for inviting me on this collab again.
We can make another round of tweets on Twitter with a picture of the 2017 movie, caption it, "They deserved better." Great job, everyone.
I'm Marco Satsu, and I really need a Red Bull or something with caffeine. I'm so tired.
Be the one, be the light, alright.
I am a businessman, and I'm always tired. I need to get home to my wife and cat kids, and I'm gonna go get a drink.
Okay, clearly I'm done. Henshin.